Greetings, fellow jury. I'm Judge Greninja, the Mario Kart and Pokemon fan.
And I'm Prosecutor Greninja. For today's case of Greninja Fan Court, we will be sentencing an announcer from BFDI for his crimes. Just to let you know, we have moved the sentence counter to the top of the screen. Also, the counts of a certain crime will now be displayed at the bottom of the screen.
But anyway, court is now in session. Let's look over announcer's crimes. Okay, where to begin with the charges? Oh yeah, let's start with his OSHA violations. Violating OSHA regulations is punishable by up to a year in prison and/or a fine of up to $20,000 per offense. By the looks of it, the defendant has violated OSHA regulations a total of 10 times.
This means he has a total of 10 years behind bars and has to pay a $200,000 fine.
Oh, but this is just the beginning. We still have several more crimes to cover. This brings us to the defendant's next crime, unlawful imprisonment. According to Michigan state law, unlawful imprisonment is a felony punishable by up to 15 years in prison and/or a $20,000 fine per offense. From what it looks like, the defendant has 27 counts of false imprisonment.
This alone adds 405 more years behind bars and another $540,000 to his fine.
Here is the defendant's next crime, involuntary manslaughter. According to Texas state law, involuntary manslaughter is a felony punishable by up to 20 years in prison and a $10,000 fine per offense. From what it looks like, the defendant has committed 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
This means he gets 80 more years and another $40,000 added to his fine.
Next is reckless endangerment. According to New York state law, reckless endangerment is a felony punishable by up to 7 years in prison and a $5,000 fine per offense. From the looks of it, the defendant has committed 16 counts of reckless endangerment.
This means he earns 112 more years behind bars and another $80,000 for his fine.
The fifth crime on this list is battery. Battery is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in prison per offense. According to the charges, the defendant has committed 4 counts of battery.
This means he earns 4 more years behind bars.
For crime number 6, we will be tackling property destruction. The sentence for property destruction is up to 10 years and a variable fine per offense. The defendant has destroyed someone's house, which, on average, costs $387,600.
This means he earns 10 more years behind bars and has another $387,600 added to his fine.
Crime number 7 is second-degree murder. The maximum sentence for second-degree murder is a life sentence. The defendant has committed 7 counts of second-degree murder.
This means he earns 7 life sentences behind bars.
Our 8th crime is first-degree murder. Much like second-degree murder, the maximum sentence for first-degree murder is life in prison. The defendant has committed 3 counts of first-degree murder.
This means he earns 3 more life sentences behind bars.
Our 9th crime is mass murder. Much like the previous murder charges, the maximum sentence for mass murder is life in prison. The defendant has committed 4 counts of mass murder.
This means he earns yet another 4 life sentences behind bars.
As we approach the halfway point of this list, the 10th crime is illegal use of deadly traps. The punishment for illegal use of deadly traps is 40 years per offense. The defendant has illegally used deadly traps in one of the challenges of BFDI.
This means he earns 40 more years behind bars.
Crime number 11 is arson disregard for life. Arson disregard for life is a felony punishable by life in prison per offense. The defendant has committed 2 counts of arson disregard for life.
This means he earns 2 more life sentences behind bars.
The 12th crime on this list is criminal negligence. Criminal negligence is a felony punishable by up to 14 years per offense. The defendant has committed criminal negligence by not feeding his contestants anything but bread for over a year.
This means he earns 14 more years behind bars.
The 13th crime on this list is incitement. Incitement is a felony punishable by up to 10 years per offense. The defendant has committed incitement by encouraging everyone to harm the bowling ball and bowling pins.
This means he earns 10 more years behind bars.
Crime number 14 is assault with a deadly weapon. Assault with a deadly weapon is punishable by up to 20 years in prison and a $10,000 fine per offense. The defendant has committed 11 acts of assault with a deadly weapon.
This means he earns 220 more years behind bars and gets another $110,000 added to his fine. This video is already 5 minutes long, so to attempt to avoid lengthening it to a length of nearly 10 minutes, we will speed through his last 6 crimes and sentence him as such.
Assault and battery is punishable by up to 20 years and a $10,000 fine per offense, so we will charge him with that for 1 count.
Mass unlawful imprisonment is punishable by life in prison per offense, so we will charge him with 3 life sentences for 3 counts.
Gross negligent homicide is punishable by up to 12 years per offense, so we will charge him 24 years for 2 counts.
Terrorism is punishable by the death penalty, so we will give him a death sentence.
Grand larceny is punishable by up to 25 years per offense, so that's what we'll charge him with for 1 count.
Attempted homicide is punishable by the death penalty, so we will give him another death sentence. Announcer from BFDI, you are charged with 20 crimes. You are hereby sentenced to 2 death sentences, 19 life sentences, 974 years, and a $1,367,600 fine. That's it for today's episode of Greninja Fan Court. Court adjourned.